Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing something a little different. I've decided that I'm going to put more of an effort into not shopping from Amazon. Instead, I want to use my money to support smaller businesses, and a bonus if they're local, or even try to make my own supplies. Which brings us to this video. Today I'm going to show you how I made my very own lake pigments out of marigolds I grew in my very own garden. I started by adding my marigold petals and water to a glass pot and brought that to a simmer for about an hour. It's very important to not let it boil, but just keep it at a simmer. After that hour was up, I did let the flowers sit in the water overnight to really make sure that that color was drawn out of the flowers as much as possible. The instructions I followed did say to do that process opposite, so let the petals soak overnight and then bring them to a simmer, but I had good results, so I'm not really sure if it makes a difference. I will add the website in the description below if you're interested in making your own lake pigments. You can really see in this video how much color I was able to extract from the petals. Once I removed the petals, I warmed up the liquid a bit to prepare it for the next step. Once the liquid was warm enough, I then strained it through a coffee filter to ensure that all of the extra sediment or debris from the flowers was removed. After some trial and error, I highly recommend using something like a ladle or another cup to help transfer the liquid between containers. Otherwise, you might end up with a mess like I did. At this point, some of you may be wondering, what even is a lake pigment? Well, I'll tell you. A lake pigment is an insoluble pigment formed by precipitating a water-soluble dye onto an inorganic substrate. Basically, we are taking a natural dye and transforming it into a shelf-stable powdery pigment. I'm planning to use my homemade pigment to make paint. After all of the liquid had been transferred over to my glass container, it was time to add the alum powder. I think I used too much water and ended up using a lot of alum powder. In this process, the alum powder is what actually bonds with the dye. Once you've added all of your alum powder, it is very important to make sure that all of the powder is completely dissolved in your liquid. Now that the alum is completely dissolved, it's time for the fun part. Make sure to transfer your liquid back to a large container. This next step in the process will require lots of space. The last ingredient required to make this lake pigment is washing soda. I first dissolved the washing soda in a small amount of water before transferring it over to my alum powder and dye mixture to make it easier for transferring, and you will see why in just a moment. As you can see here, there is an immediate reaction once you add that washing soda to your mixture. I was a little hesitant because the instructions did say to take it slow, but I think I went a little too slow. But once I got the hang of it and realized how fast it did react, I was able to add the rest of that washing soda in and watch the magic happen. The alum powder is what causes that final separation between solid and liquid, where the dye really adheres to the powder and sinks to the bottom and the liquid forms on the top. At this point, I let the pot sit overnight to allow for the pigment to really settle at the bottom. Now that the pigment was fully separated, it was time to use another coffee filter to help filter the water out of the pigment. This process can take a while. Once the water has drained completely out of the pigment, it is now time to lay the pigment flat to dry. I just used a cutout piece of cardboard and a parchment paper as the flat surface to dry my pigment on. Now that this step is complete, we can move our pigment to a dark, non-humid area to complete the drying process. And here is the fully dried pigment. This is what the pigment looks like after drying for about 3 weeks. It should only take about a week, but I got a little busy and went on a vacation and time just got away from me. So I let it dry for a little bit longer, but it didn't hurt anything. And I know for sure that it is completely dry for the next step. During this next step, and really any time you are working with fine powders or dusts, it is so important to have proper safety equipment such as a respirator mask and safety goggles. Once I had all my safety equipment on, I then scraped all of the dry pigment into my mortar and pestle and just started to grind it until it was a perfectly fine powder. Just as a side note, I looked everywhere for a stone mortar and pestle and could not find one. And by everywhere, I mean all of the secondhand and antique stores in my area. All I could find was this wooden one, which it worked for this project, but there are other projects I want to try that require a stone mortar and pestle, like grinding up colorful rocks to make pigment. And speaking of rocks, if you haven't checked out the video where I make a dragon out of clay inspired by a really cool rock that my brother found for me, then you should check it out. Along with building the dragon itself out of clay, I also include a lot of really great facts about Eastern dragons. So many facts that after my sister watched the video, she asked me if I was secretly obsessed with dragons. Anyways, if that's your thing, you should definitely go check it out. Now that the pigment has been ground down to a perfectly fine dust, it is now ready to be used. You can mix with any medium such as oil or water, or you can store it in an airtight jar to be used for later. Remember, it's shelf stable, so no refrigeration required, and just watch to make sure it's not growing mold or anything if it's exposed to water. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a little bit different than my previous content, so be sure to comment below if you'd like to see more of me making my own art supplies or artist tools, like using the wood lathe to make my own needle felting tool. So keep an eye out for that video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!